Welcome to this week's check-in on my GLP-1 weight loss drug journey. And I'm going to also be talking about advocating for yourself, which is like a deeper dive into something I discussed a few weeks ago about how to get people to come along with you on this journey. But I want to go more deep into this because it is important in a lot of aspects of your life. But first, the check-in. So if you've seen, my weight has dropped down into the 160s. So that made me really happy because that's like the real progress I was hoping for. I have had some nausea, sometimes a little bad and some heartburn that was quite like I had to lie down and like figure out what I was going to do with that. And I bought some Pepto-Bismol. So how I'm coping is I joined a Facebook group that is really, really helpful. It's like a semi-glutide medication weight loss group. So I just searched on Facebook and found it. And my cat's about to jump up here and knock everything over. So sorry. And seeing like people discussing all of these things. So that's one thing I do highly recommend. Like I've done that for my autoimmune disease. I belong to 2 or 3 groups. Oh, there could be so many groups. It can be overwhelming. So I just try to find one that doesn't have too many people in it, 'cause it could be really, really noisy. Like just like I am finding I'm spending too much time probably like because I get the notifications. So I'm looking all the time at the things people are posting. But right now it's just been so helpful. But also inspiring because people are posting their before and after pictures and posting like their progress. And it's all like amazing stuff. And so it is like unbelievable that like weight loss could be this easy, kind of easy, because like you are kind of dealing with like the nausea. Some people have worse. I'm going to try injecting. I've been injecting into my belly. I'm going to try injecting into my thigh. A few people posted that they had injected in their thigh and found they had less side effects. So, you know, it's those kinds of things. So if you're considering going on this journey, like I did a lot of research. That's why I'm kind of doing these weekly check-ins to kind of help people and give them information that I was able to find for myself. Obviously discussing with medical professionals, like I'm using ro.co is the website for it. So as part of the service with them, they have like medical professionals, NPs and RNs that I check in with like each week. And if I'm having problems, I could check in more. But a lot of times the side effects are only for a couple days after you've taken the injection and are likely to lessen or go away once my body has adapted more. Because still I'm like 2.5 months in. And I went from a very low dose and now I'm getting into the higher dosages now. So like hopefully this, like, you know, and the thing is like, some people have posted like, are we just losing weight because we feel like crap, like feel nauseous all the time? And you do kind of wonder that. But like even today, like I was eating, well, I also have TMJ. I grind my teeth. I wear a night guard. And I've also spent a lot of money on my teeth because part of my issues were from the autoimmune disease, the dryness. Like it increases dental problems because you don't have the saliva that washes away the bacteria. I never knew this until I moved to the US. I went and found a good dentist. I had a cracked tooth and she was like, yeah, like that's really common with dry mouth. And I'm like, I didn't know that. If I'd known that, I probably would have looked even harder for a solution to my dry mouth problem, right? I mean, crazy. So I had lost 2 teeth I had taken out when I was younger. And then there was a couple that had to be taken out from being cracked. So it's like the dryness, the TMJ, the grinding causes these issues. So, I'm wearing a mouth guard at night because I've got $10,000 worth of dental work in here with I got crowns, I got dental implants, and I've got veneers. So I wear a guard at night because I grind my teeth, and then now the guard's causing me TMJ. So I had trouble eating breakfast today. So it's between the nausea and the TMJ, but I don't have nausea. So hopefully, and like I said before, I'm also on other medications, so it could be just a combination of things. And that's often the issue with people when they have different medical issues, because there's so many different things that it could be. Sometimes it's hard to narrow down what it is. But I've gone down, my clothes are looser. I went to the writing retreat last weekend, and I packed a dress for we were having an open mic night. And that dress used to fit me quite snug. It had a bodice kind of thing, and it was always quite snug. And then I put it on just before the open mic, and it was so loose. And I was and I hadn't noticed that I'd lost that much up here, but I'm wearing a medium. So my Evolve t-shirt, I usually do these right after my turn up class because I'm feeling good. Yeah, so I'm wearing a medium t-shirt size. I'm going to need to do some shopping to get some new clothes. So, things seem to be going good. I'm keeping an eye on all the side effects and things like that, because there can be some serious issues with these things. So I think one of the sad things now is that it is so expensive. If you're not diabetic, it's not covered on your insurance. The Wegovy and the Ozempic are harder to get now because so many people are using them for weight loss. So that's been an issue. Oh no, my cat's on my computer, which has my notes for the next part of this session. Oh no. So, back to the check-in. So, my hope is that in time, I'm paying out of pocket and it is a bit expensive. I'm having to budget for all this. And, in time, hopefully they will become more accessible, just available and less expensive for people to get it, and that maybe insurance will cover it when they realize that if people are losing weight, that it is going to help them from getting more serious, more expensive types of conditions. So hopefully that will happen. So on to the topic of advocating for yourself. So I had mentioned it earlier, and that if the people around you don't seem to be supportive of your weight loss journey or whatever journey you're on, whatever changes you're trying to make in your life, that you need to kind of know better in yourself why you're doing it, how you feel about all of this, so that then you can communicate it on to other people. And I had this issue kind of came up a couple of times since then with friends of mine. So another friend's husband has an autoimmune disease, and he only was recently diagnosed. So he was scared. He was having some pretty serious weight loss and things that he was experiencing with that was going to change his life completely. And I was giving him advice on how to make sure that your doctor is doing for you what you need to be doing. And so this is one of the ways you need to advocate for yourself, is making sure that you have the right doctor. And I mentioned this before, that the doctor cares about you, that they believe what you're saying, that they're trying to treat your symptoms and not just saying oh, well, that's just, you have to deal with that kind of thing, So, and then I'm trying to think, I had a young woman that's getting into social media and digital marketing, and she messaged me about how to get more work and how to charge for your work. So I was giving her advice on that, and part of that was understanding what your worth is. So then in the seminar and the writing retreat last weekend, we had 2 sessions, 2 speakers that talked about advocating for yourself in a couple of different ways. So one of the speakers, and I haven't had a chance to get her to okay discussing who she was. She works for a company, so she's not a public figure. But she works for a big company that is a food chain, a restaurant chain. And she's like a sort of, I don't know if she's a mid-level manager, but she's in management there. And part of her work is working on a committee that is to help women move up and be able to advocate for themselves. So she spoke to us about advocating for yourself in like a company setting, which is something that I've always been very passionate about in my past as an employee in a big company and as a boss. So I can speak on that from two different ways. And I'm also going to speak about something that may be more fun, or you might be a bit about, is that there was also a sex doctor that spoke to us. Now, I find her really interesting, not just because of the sexual aspect of it, but also she talks about like bladder and pelvic health, right? So she's sort of all about all of that kind of area. And as an older woman that's had a few children and some autoimmune issues and on medications that might cause issues there, I've actually booked a session with her. But she talked about also advocating for yourself in regards to those topics. So we'll talk about that toward the end. So advocating for yourself, right? So when are the times when you would need to advocate for yourself? So I talked about just even talking to your family, talking to your partner. There was a woman in the semaglutide group that was saying that she felt like her husband might be trying to sabotage her, that she was doing really well and he would be buying her things that he knew that she really loved to eat and wouldn't have bought before because he was either too expensive or too hard to get. Now he's buying cheesecakes that she loves. He's driving to the other town to get these Doritos that you can't get anywhere else. And she was like, is he trying to sabotage me? And so the question is, he may or may not be. Like, he may be trying to reward her for her good work, or but it may be sabotage, and it could be consciously or subconsciously, because I think that when, you're progressing, the people around you could unconsciously be afraid that you might leave them or you're not going to be there for them like you were before. And so this could be subconscious, but what I had suggested was that, and something I've learned like through Abraham Hicks, is that what they feel and think is their business. What you feel and what you think is your business. So you're not going to change him, but maybe you could make him understand. So this is where you would advocate in that kind of position, is knowing how you feel about this. Have a clear understanding of who you are. I'm going to look at my notes because I did lots of notes and this was going to be too detailed, and I thought this shouldn't be so detailed. What do you want? What do you need? Have a clear understanding of that so that you can communicate to other people. What are your core values? What's really important to you? Like, if she really wants to stay in this marriage, she really loves him, then you're going to have to, not say put up with this, but you're going to have to do the work to communicate to him how that makes you feel. And if that doesn't change the way that he behaves, then you're going to have to find a way that, I don't want to say you can live with it, but there really is like just let it kind of go by. Like, she was saying that she's eating a little and then at nighttime, in the middle of the night, throwing it away. So he doesn't know that she's throwing it away. Whereas that's no way to live your life, So like, some people live very well in like just saying like, what you do pisses me off, and communicating it and then just going on with your life. Like, people do live like that. I would find that difficult. I'm pretty much like, we got to fix this situation. But I'm learning more and more that like, not every situation can be fixed. And sometimes it's just okay to live that way. And what are your specific goals? So what do you want and need to be fulfilled? What are your core values? Like, is honesty, authenticity, family? I talked a bit, I the last episode, I'll put the link here again, about the one thing where we determine what are our 3 main core values, and then make sure that the goals that we have and the things that we're doing are aligned with these core values, because otherwise it's hard to stand by what you're doing and what you're saying, and that you take actions in line with that. And that really does help you proceed further towards what your ultimate goals are. And like my thinking in this whole picture, that our ultimate goal is to just be personally fulfilled in whatever way what that means to you. So if you know what you want and you need to be fulfilled, again, your core values and the specific goals based on those things, if you have a clear understanding of those things, you're going to feel better in yourself. You're going to feel more confident in the actions that you need to take in order to get there. You're going to know what steps to take better to get there. And you're also going to be able to communicate that better to others in order to advocate for yourself. You need to then do what you need to do to develop strong confidence and self-belief. So as I said, the first things that you need to do is identifying those things is the first step to that. But then you need to find activities, practices, habits to build that are going to then help you build your self-confidence and your self-belief. So set a time each day to meditate, read, do visualizations, whatever it is type of activity that you need to within yourself build that kind of confidence. Develop a circle of family, friends, colleagues, and other people that make you feel good about yourself, right? So like I mentioned, the Turn Up Squad that I have other friends that are like-minded people that support me, right? And then limit the people around you that do not support you in whatever way that you can. So it might be just spending less time with certain members of your family that always give you that dig, that don't understand, when you can. So it's definitely like the people that are around you really affect how you feel. And if you're with a circle of people that are positive and are also doing these kinds of activities, it just makes it that much easier for you to do it. And plus also they're going to have suggestions for you of things to do, things you can do together, like going to a retreat, and things like that, that will help you do that. So that's about developing, because like I said, and the more that you do this, the more these are going to build with you. So the more you practice positive self-beliefs and self-talk, the easier it's going to be to get rid of those negative aspects of it. So I find I've got YouTube videos. I can suggest a bunch of things that I do. I listen to every morning when I wake up in the morning. I do meditate some. And I find that if I don't do it, if I skip it, don't have as much power in my day and ability to get through like any roadblocks that come up during the day. But having this confidence and self-belief is going to make you want to advocate for yourself more. And it's also going to make you able to advocate for yourself successfully more. Now, when you then have a specific thing that you want to advocate for, so it could be like you want to raise at work, or you want to get a new job and you're going to apply for a new job. Like these are other ways that you would advocate for yourself. So like getting a promotion, getting a raise, getting a new job, or talking to a member of your family about something difficult. Trying to get like on the board of a local nonprofit, or getting a project done that you think is really important, or dealing with the bank if you need to get financing or a loan. So these are all different areas where you can and need to advocate for yourself. Taking your car to the mechanic and talking to a mechanic. Like I know for a lot of people, that's like it makes me very nervous. I know, because I don't know what I'm talking about, right? And like, do they take women seriously? Like, you think that's a thing of the past, but it can still be an issue. Hiring people to do work for you. So negotiating price and buying a car. These are all things that involve advocating for yourself in some way or another. So the next thing is to understand as much as possible about the other person or organization that you are trying to advocate for yourself to, right? So, what are their policies? What are their requirements? What are your rights? And, oh, my cat has actually scrolled down for me. What are your rights and what are your entitlements? What is their objective, right? Because if your objective aligns with their objective, it is going to make it easier for you to advocate for yourself. And especially if it's related to that. What are their core values? What are their goals, right? So if you understand the other party, then you can base your pitch for this advocating for yourself upon these things, so that you're not going contrary against any of these things that are important to this other party, right? So you understand it. Now, you might be advocating for a change in these things. And if that's the case, you need to understand that, right? So you need to understand like how they've been doing business, and that what you're asking for might be like totally against what they've done, or they've never done it before, right? It doesn't mean that you can't successfully make this change, but it does mean that your case is going to have to be stronger, and that you're going to have to build that case with all the reasons why they should do this, so you need to understand like if there's costs involved, if you need other people involved. That's why you also need to understand like the hierarchy within. So if it's an organization, not just like your husband that you're advocating to, though again, you may need to understand the hierarchy of your family. But in an organization, like say you're going to get a promotion, you need to understand the hierarchy, right? So your boss might need the approval of another person, right? So you need to make sure that you're going to go to the right person, right? Understand that hierarchy. Like a lot of times when I'd be advocating for myself in a company, which I've done numerous times, I'd always try to understand that like one of my boss's objectives is to look good to his boss. So if what I'm asking for is going to help him in that objective, I also use all this in marketing, like in target market research, right? So if I can make my boss look good to his boss, he's more likely to let me do what I want to do and help me in what I want to do. So understand the hierarchy of the organization. Understand the communication style, right? So that you can be in line and speaking to them, speaking their own language. Now, some people might think that's going to be fake. But if you listen to the last week's episode where this Layla Hormozi talks about how when she's speaking to people within her organization, like she's the boss, but she then also makes sure, because it gets her message delivered better and understood better. So you're still being authentic, but you're just using a communication style that is going to get your point across more effectively, right? Because you may have only one shot at this. And the relevant time frames. When is the best time frame? Like when I first moved here, I'd considered a job at an insurance company, and it would have been sort of a lower level job than I'd had in the past. And they were feeling that I was overqualified for that. And I said, well, I was confident that I'd be able to move up soon. And they're like, well, we only do promotions in June, and you'd be starting this job just a couple months before that, so you're going to miss that because you would have had to have been here a certain number of months. And so I was like, I still felt confident that if I had the job, I would win them over so much that they'd break that rule. But some companies, you just cannot. You have to be within what their time frames are, right? But also, like say you're going to talk to your partner or a friend You're not going to want to bring up and have like a difficult conversation when they've just come home from work and they're really tired. I read the Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, or whichever way around that is. And he talks about these things. And I remember thinking like, oh, why do I have to cater to him? Right? Like, why can't he come to me on my terms? Why do I have to understand his terms? And the thing is, it's just reality, right? If someone's just come home, they might have the worries of their business day. They're tired, not a good time. So best to find the best time and the time that's going to suit you both, right? Because you don't want to do it when you're tired and distracted either, right? So look at what are the best time frames to advocate for yourself. Gather resources. So whether that's information, data that you might need, documentation that you might need. So you need to be, and this is one thing that the woman from the restaurant chain company mentioned too, is that as you go along, keep track of all the great stuff that you've done, right? So if it's in a job, like all the wins that you've had in your job, all the awards that you may have had, all the certifications, degrees, all of those things, have that somewhere that it's easy for you to compile that in. If it's in a personal situation, you may also have to do that too. That this is what I do around here. This is what I've done. I've gone and done this. I've done that, that kind of thing in just like a matter of fact way, so like I feel I deserve because I've done all this. And also like if you're going for a promotion or a raise, like those things might be necessary. So keep those things to hand. So this is part of the data or documentation that you should have. Also, your supporters and people that can either like give you referrals or testimonials, and information about like what is needed for this job, because you may not understand that there may be other reasons why you wouldn't get this promotion or get whatever you're asking for. So you might need to talk to the other people that would have more access to that information. So gather your supporters, gather all the people that can give you information, and be as open as possible. Because you may say like, I'm really interested in this position. I know you've had that position before. Can you tell me a bit more about what's required so that I would know whether I have those qualifications or not, or that experience or not. So talk to the necessary people around you. And then prepare for your pitch. So like I said, make sure the timing is right. Make sure that you do have all this information that you need to know. Practice with a friend. Like I've had young friends, like babysitters and things that I've done practice job interviews with to help them. And they've never done a job interview before. Practice with friends. Because that might help you, especially if it's going to be a difficult conversation, like a personal kind of situation where it might seem awkward, but it's not the kind of conversation you have all the time. So it is good to get that practice in. So find a good friend that might help you. Or if you have a therapist or a coach or somebody like that may be able to help you with this kind of practice also. Because like I said, the more that you do this, the better that you get at it. But very often they're not types of conversations that you do have all the time. And then make sure that you schedule, officially or unofficially, a follow-up conversation, so that say you go on a job interview, when will you be making a decision? When will I find out? Because often people find they don't get any answers to things like that. So if you be proactive about finding out, like, when can we follow up on this? And even if you're having a difficult personal conversation, especially if you're getting like extreme resistance and you don't think that you're getting anywhere, you might need to say, look, let's pause this conversation, but pick it up again and find a time that it works for both of you. Don't just give up. If you find extreme resistance, like I said, you might need to use your mindfulness that you've built and the confidence that you've built to then decide whether you need to take other action. So have a plan B, right? So say you don't get the promotion that you want to get. What are you going to then do? If you feel that you truly are qualified and you should have that position and that that's where you should be in your life right now, then maybe you need to look at another organization. Would you be able to get a position at that level somewhere else, or make a lateral move that you can then more easily move up to? Or are you willing to just learn from this situation that, no, maybe there is some more work I need to do, and then look to get that? So even ask, like, say if you're then told like you're not going to get this, then just say like, okay, what do I need to do in order to do this in the future? And when do you think I would be able to do this? And see what kind of information you're getting. So again, if you're thinking about what your needs and wants are, what your core values are, and what you need to do to get to your ultimate goal, if that's not aligned in this situation, then maybe you need to find yourself another situation. Again, it can be very, very difficult. Like I said, we're not talking about easy stuff here. We're talking about difficult stuff here, but we're all able to do this. And so there are different times when we've had to make these really, really difficult decisions. And sometimes we make the wrong decision. Some people are afraid of taking any action because it could be the wrong action, but then they're stuck where they are. And this is just part of life. And if you have high goals, and if there's, if you've got dreams and you're thinking that you're never going to fulfill them because you're afraid, then listen to my last episode where we talked about how fear is a mile wide and an inch deep. So you just need to take that first step, and then you realize you've moved through it. So keep that in mind too. Other tips, okay? Be assertive, but not pushy. Be fair. Can you over ask? Now, I hate to say this because I do feel people should stand up for them and stand up for themselves, advocate for themselves, if they feel, but I have had like employees in the past that were just constantly asking for things, and they're like, if you don't ask, you don't get, right? And it's like, they haven't done the research, right? They're asking for things that you couldn't do for everybody. Like, I was always a very democratic boss, right? So I wanted things to be fair for everyone. So somebody wanted 3 months off to go to Australia. And then the supervisor, so who was just under me, was mad at me that I didn't just say automatically like, oh, of course, right? Go on your vacation of dreams. Because I'm like, is it fair for me to give this man just 3, he didn't want to get paid for it. And so like, in a way, I should have been able to just say, oh yeah, but what if everybody wanted to do that? Like, and if it's against, like, I would have to get this approved above me anyway for something like that. So the funny thing is that like that supervisor and I were clashing constantly. Whereas when actually, he had been my supervisor and I got promoted over him. So maybe that was part of the issue. I don't think so, but we were really good friends at one point, and then we were constantly clashing. And then our boss had us do this personality test, and we had a weekend workshop on these things. And it turned out that like he feels that a leader should just be able to make decisions like that. I feel that to make decisions, you've got to carefully weigh out all the information. So just understanding that we had those different personality styles helped us moving forward. We still clashed from time to time because he really thought you should just say, yep, that's what I'm going to do. When I'm like, let's consider this. So understanding your own style and whoever it is you're advocating to is very helpful. Okay. Be patient within reason, right? Because sometimes these sorts of changes don't happen overnight. It might take a few times of having discussions, especially in personal things. So just as I said before, understand the time frame, be patient within reason. But if you feel that like you're just getting resistance and things aren't moving along at a reasonable pace, then you might need to push further or make a decision to take another path. And then I said again, what's your plan B, right? So I have your plan B. And don't think of it as like, oh no, I don't want to think of anything else happening. Like, I know, like I'm a big proponent of manifesting and being positive and focusing on where it is you want to go. But also, like, if it's something huge, maybe you need to break it down. Maybe you need to take a step in the middle in order to then get to that bigger step. Maybe it takes multiple conversations. Maybe you need to just change to another organization. Sometimes there's some difficult decisions you might need to make in your personal life if the situation is not something that's going to change in a way that is gonna meet your needs. And this is all really difficult stuff. None of it is very easy. So I hope that this is helpful for you. Oh, I didn't get to the fun part, right? So the sex doctor, Dr. Rose, I'll put a link to her in the notes here. So when she was talking about advocating for yourself with your partner, right? So if there's certain issues that you're having in intimate relations with your partner, she was suggesting that at a time, like not when you're just like about to have a an interaction, at a time, a neutral time, when you could sit down and discuss what you want and need, right? What the other party wants and needs, and then discuss what's a green light item, what's a yellow light item, what's a red light items, like what is a definite no-go. She had lots of statistics about different things, about percentages of people that aren't happy over certain things, and when people are more likely to be doing things. And so you might say like, okay, this is green, but like if I've had a good night's sleep, or certain times of the day, or if we're on vacation, or, those sorts of things. So they can be conditional. So there might be certain things, or those were the yellows, maybe the conditional things. So the greens were the things that like, yeah, whenever, I'm up for it. Yellow was conditional on whatever your conditional factors are. And the reds were, nuh-uh, I ain't going there. And again, this is the situation where you have a conversation at a neutral time when you can discuss this. And I think that a lot of people have issues talking about these things. So that's why, like, she had this woman speak to us. Like, what I found the whole pelvic health issue, like, very interesting to talk about. And I actually have scheduled an appointment with her to discuss some things about that. But I'm also going to ask her if she will speak or participate in the program that I'm starting this autumn called Raising Your Voice. So I also wanted to talk about that for a little bit now, because I'm going to be having the lead up to Raising Your Voice over the summer. So kind of prepping, like we were all busy during the summer, but I'm going to have little things to kind of help us get into the right mindset to take on like raising your voice. So Raising Your Voice is like, it's going to be like a Facebook group. I'm going to have like free kind of webinars monthly maybe, but I'm going to have a course that is going to be maybe 6-week course. I'm still building that right now. And it's going to be about strategic communication skills for women. So just women. So we're going to have like-minded women with similar goals, similar wants and needs, but there's going to be diversity, but I think that that's all going to help us. There's going to be people at different stages of their path that we can work together. I'll be leading, and I'll be getting other people like if I can get Dr. Rose to participate on that topic, certain topics. So we'd be talking about like having difficult conversations, finding your voice if you don't feel that you're confident and that you can communicate on a basic level, even doing videos, feeling more comfortable with videos and public speaking, in the bedroom type conversations, right? Money conversations. Like, some people, they just have, here I am having my strategic communication issue right now. But being able to communicate to get what you want to. So a lot of times when I've been like chair of the Women in Business group and people say like, oh, Anne, I could never do that. I can't speak in front of people. That's not true, right? Like anybody can do this, but it may just take practice, support, training, coaching. So that's what raising your voice is going to be. So I'm going to put a link in the notes also to where you can sign up for the wait list. And then I'll be starting to send out separate weekly emails that have just something to read or something to think about, like on a weekly basis throughout the summer, kind of leading up. And then the actual raising your voice is going to launch in the autumn. I'm still strategically planning the timing of all of it. But I think that if you're interested in this kind of topic, that raising your voice is going to be for you. So thanks again for listening. Any questions, any comments, please reply in an email, and I'll talk to you next week.